Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Founders Grid. Today we have Jenny, the co founder of Talofa Games. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, give us a brief background about yourself, what you've been doing before Talofa Games.
Yeah, so I have been in the gaming industry for about 10 years now, and I created my first game 10 years ago when Flash was still a big thing. So I had actually started out wanting to be an artist. So I drew a ton. I posted on sites like deviantart.com and slowly started to transition into more of the gaming direction, posting my first Flash games on sites like congregate.com, DeviantArt, Newgrounds, all those early Flash portals. But what really was the most intriguing part of it all was seeing people react to what I created. So around 2015, I started a company called JC Soft, where I
Okay.
actually posted a bunch of mobile games, and getting people into my games was it was really interesting because I could really quickly test what people liked by posting those Flash games on Congregate on those very easily accessible sites and then funneling them into my mobile games, seeing them making YouTube videos. It all was part of the reason why I kept making games. Just seeing someone's comments saying that the game made their day, or they that they scared their 5-year-old sibling with my game, it just made me feel like I had an impact on the world. And I really love just developing games, developing content for people. So I worked on JC Soft for that's the last 5 years or so, and one of the games, Jump Scare Factory, got to the top 8 game on the Google Play top free games. So that whole process of kind of seeing the game just start out as a concept to getting thousands and tens of thousands and then millions of downloads was a really, I'd say, thrilling but also humbling process that made me love the gaming industry a lot more and made me feel like, as a more introverted person too, that what I worked on could actually strike a chord with people. And that's what brought me to Talofa Games, where like now I'm actually working on a bigger, larger social augmented reality running game. So that game takes all my experience in gaming and also combines it with 10 years of my running, long distance running obsession. So kind of taking these two interests of mine and really trying to find that middle ground to make something that will make people healthier.
Okay. And how's the journey so far at Talofa?
Yeah, it's been, I think for me, growing the team and actually working with a lot more people has been a whole new process. Because with JC Soft, I was working as a one-person studio, the help of my family to help me actually do a little bit of the design beta testing, but now actually for the first time hiring on people, working with people, and in these times working remotely with people for almost the first time. So that whole process has been thrilling, fun, scary, overwhelming at times.
Okay.
But for me, working on a larger game, working on something that's got some funding as well is, I think, very exciting. And it's a whole growth process for me as well as an entrepreneur.
So when it comes down to creativity, everyone says that, creative teams put them in a room together or the one pizza rule. So
Yeah.
but now, since everyone has been forced to go remote, do you think creativity can be achieved online as well?
hmm I think that you do lose a lot of the serendipity of being in an office together, having that creative spark, and then immediately turning around and talking to your team about that. Like
Yeah.
that part is very hard to foster online. But I think that one thing that a lot of teams and what we're trying to do as well at Talofa is getting people into spaces that are not always work related. So we'll have game nights, we'll have virtual sessions where we just kind of hop into a Discord channel, hop into Slack, and then just talk or hang
Yeah.
out. And in those times, yesterday we had a game night. At the end of the game night, we were actually talking through different game ideas. We were riffing off of each other and kind of in that space where usually you wouldn't really talk about work. Like some work ideas just came about, and we had that team culture in place, even though we're all far apart. So that kind of gave me a lot more hope for the fact that even if you are remote, if you introduce periods of time where you don't have to set up an actual meeting, it can just be hanging out like those can still happen online, and a lot of the times that's when the creative stuff comes out, not always when you're having your daily stand up or having your calls about a specific work issue can these things come out.
Yeah, great. So, any three last question? Any three pieces of advice you would give to other founders who are into game development of how to manage teams in a much more efficient way, and how to be the best at it?
Yeah, so I'd say for gaming specifically, a lot of teams that I've talked to, other game CEOs have recommended Discord, and Discord's like a Slack, but a lot of game developers, gamers are on there where you actually set up different voice channels. So you can
Yeah,
have a channel for people who are hanging out, kind of like that water cooler, like break room vibe in a normal office setting. And almost by creating different voice channels, emulating the office layout, you can create a little bit of that spontaneity, a little bit of that uh, office culture without actually being in the office. So having a channel for people who are just hanging out, a channel for people who are working hard. So like a library channel where everyone's supposed to be quiet, but you're working, and if you have a question, you can say it, but it's meant to be more of that focus zone. And then another place where people can jump in, have meetings together, other people can jump in if they want. And that kind of structure, having an office set up even remotely, I think has helped a lot of my fellow CEOs, founders manage their teams. And in general as well, just being able to keep up little team traditions like jumping on weekly hangouts, game nights, that has worked a lot for us. And then being really good about stand-ups and making sure that the little wins are being celebrated, even if you aren't in the same space, making sure that people, when they do something, when they accomplish something in your Slack channels or over email, really shouting people out, making them feel recognized. Because I think one part about being remote is also the mental health side, and
yeah,
people take it and react to it in different ways. And it's like really important too to realize that people are kind of adapting and accepting their current situation and dealing with it in many different ways. Some people picking up new jobs of being full-time stay-at-home parents as well as homeschooling. So kind of being able to manage that and recognizing people's struggles, I think even when remote, is also really important.
Jenny, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great having you, but sorry we're keeping our podcast within 8 minutes. Otherwise, we would have loved to take it up to 1 hour. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.